Dearly beloved, we are gathered here as the family and friends of Emily and Chris to share their joy and to ask God to bless their marriage. Marriage is a sacred covenant. God gives human love, and through that love, husband and wife come to know each other with mutual care and companionship. God gives joy so that wife and husband may share their new life and deepen their life together. With our love and our prayers, we support Chris and Emily as they now freely give themselves to each other. Before God and these loved ones, Chris and Emily, I now ask you to affirm your willingness to enter into this covenant of marriage and to share all the joys and sorrows of this new relationship, whatever the future may hold. Chris, will you have Emily to be your wife, and will you love her faithfully as long as you both shall live?
I will.
Emily, will you have Chris to be your husband, and will you love him faithfully as long as you both shall live?
I will.
Who gives this woman to be married to this man?
Her mother and I.
The Apostle Paul spoke of love in the 13th chapter of his first letter to the Corinthians when he said, "If I were to speak in the tongues of men and angels, but not with love, then I'm no more than a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but I have not love, then I am nothing. If I were to give all I possess to the poor and surrender my bodies to the flames, but not with love, I would gain nothing. Love is patient and love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It is not rude, it is not self-seeking. It is never easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there's knowledge, it will pass away. But these three things will remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. When I started as the pastor of the Congregational Church of Northridge, Emily was 7 years old. And so I have had the privilege of watching her grow up, which was driven home to me a few months ago when she and Chris first met with me. I knew, of course, that Emily had become a bright and competent young woman, but as we sat and talked about marriage and about the ways that she and Chris have managed their relationship, and as the two of them demonstrated their commitment and their maturity, I felt a growing confidence that she and Chris are building a marriage that will last and that will thrive. Not long after hearing the story of how they began this journey together, I happened upon a study that identified the characteristics of marriage that remain happy and loving for decades after their wedding day. The study included such thing as respect between the partners, that each partner finds pleasure and comfort in the other's company, that each offers emotional support to the others, that they regularly have expressions of appreciation for each other, that in their relationship there's a feeling of safety and friendship and trust, that there's a strong sense of morality and a conviction that each person is worthy of being loved. Well, Chris and Emily have lived these values from the very beginning of their relationship. In fact, Emily recognized these traits in Chris before they were actually dating. She remembers telling Aaron that he would be the ideal guy to marry, except he was already dating somebody. Emily says that Chris is handsome, funny, charming, and intelligent. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. She says that his presence fills the room. Well, it turns out that Chris was saying similar things about Emily. And for both, it was a completely different quality of relationship that they were looking for. Now they were seeking something different than they had known in their past relationships. As an aside, I want to add that I remember meeting Chris for the first time. It was in the Hedges kitchen during a holiday party, and I later told Vivian that I hoped that he would be the kind of guy that Emily would eventually marry. Both of their current relationships at the time had turned sour, and they had done the party scene, and they were now looking for something more, someone to commit to, somebody to grow with, someone to spend a lifetime with. But if we're open to it, even bad experiences and bad relationships will enrich our lives as they have learned. Emily says that she never would have appreciated Chris so much if she hadn't had the contrast of an unhappy, unhealthy relationship beforehand. It is as if life were preparing her for this man and this day. There was some pain and trauma as their old relationships ended, but that also opened the door for them to start seeing each other. This was the summer before Chris came to Cal Poly, and they were working together at Cliffs. And a few months later, when he started school, she got to show him around the campus. By now, they have shared a lot of milestones together. Her turning 21, their graduation, Chris launching his career. And they've also faced some frustrations together, including the tough economy and this job market. But they have gotten stronger, and they have learned to be more understanding and supportive and encouraging through it all. Chris says that sometimes life has been difficult, but with Emily, it's not because of each other, but because of life circumstances. I remember Emily telling me that part of the reason she loves Chris is because he's always willing to grow. She says that Chris can relate to the struggle that each of them may be going through. Chris echoed that they've learned to accept each other's faults and appreciate the differences. Now, if I were a religious man, I would say that God not only brought them together, but prepared them to be together for a lifetime of love. Chris and Emily have prepared their vows for each other. Chris?
Emily, I knew I'd fallen in love with you when I realized I would gladly sacrifice anything to be with you. And today I vow to be the best husband a man can ever expect to be. Reflecting on the qualities that that man must possess: respect, honesty, patience, and of course love all come to mind. Since no man can promise he can achieve all those qualities all the time, what I can promise you with absolute certainty, I will always love and cherish you. Through our times of prosperity and our times of weakness, you can always be assured of a loyal husband who supports and loves you through all of our time.
Chris, I can never express in words how much you mean to me and how much I love you. Having you in my life makes everything more wonderful. I love how kind and passionate you are. I admire how intelligent and driven you are. Your optimism and love truly make me feel that together we can accomplish anything. From the moment we were together, you had me feeling like I was the luckiest girl in the world. I know that it won't always be easy and that life throws curveballs, but I promise to never give up on us and to stand by your side in good times and bad. I promise to always try my hardest to be the wife and friend that you deserve. I promise to never take you for granted and to always do my best to remind you how loved and appreciated you are. I promise to continue to grow with you. You are my best friend and the man I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with.
What symbols of this marriage have you brought me? Now, Chris, as you place this ring on Emily's finger, if you would please repeat after me. I give you this ring as a sign of my love and faithfulness.
I give you this ring as a sign of my love and faithfulness.
And Emily, if you'd repeat, I receive this ring as a sign of our love and faithfulness. I receive
this ring as a sign of my love and our faithfulness.
And as you place this ring on Chris's finger, I give you this ring as a sign of my love and faithfulness.
I give you this ring as a sign of my love and my faithfulness.
Chris, if you'd repeat, I receive this ring as a sign of our love and faithfulness.
I receive this ring as a sign of our love and faithfulness.
You place your ring fingers together. Bless, O Lord, these rings, that they who give them and they who receive them may live in your peace and continue in your favor until their lives. Amen. Let us join together in prayer. Lord God, it is as if in your great plan you prepared the time and the way for Emily and Chris to come together at just the right time. And Lord, it is just as if in your wisdom you have led them through these years together. And it is as if, Lord, in your love you have multiplied their love and their respect and their commitment for each other. So God, we just pray that in their years and their decades ahead, they will continue to feel your encouragement, your love, that your joy and passion will be expressed through all that they do. We are so grateful, dear God, for this time, this day, for the promise of years to come. Amen. For inasmuch as Chris and Emily have consented together in holy wedlock, and have witnessed the same before God and these loved ones, and by exchanging and giving of rings, I now pronounce that they are man and wife. Chris, you may kiss your bride. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my great pleasure to introduce to you for the very first time Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Chinston.